G'day and welcome back to the Hidden White podcast. It is great to have you here with me today. This is episode 1141. I'm your host, Leigh Martinuzzi, and today's special guest is Dr. Mark Sherwood. He and his wife have set up a medical practice helping thousands now globally with preventative health measures. We discuss his holistic health approach and emphasize on diets, natural foods, movement, exercise, mental well-being, meditation, mindfulness, all those key topics, but without overcomplicating. And I think that's what happens in this space. There's just so much information out there these days that it almost scares us away from just trying anything, really. And I think it doesn't have to be complicated. I think it can be simple. And I think we know what is best for us, generally speaking. When you start delving down these funnels and these practices that we talk about in this episode, you'll start to find what feels right for you and what makes you feel good. And I think that's what good health is all about. It's not about medicating the symptoms. It's about looking for the things deep in that are preventing us from living a healthy, happy, fulfilled life. And that's what we talk about in this episode. Great conversation here with Dr. Sherwood. It goes for about an hour, so I think you're going to enjoy. There's each part is broken down into diet. We talk about movement and we talk about mindfulness as well. And some of the barriers that are stopping us from delving further into these fields. So good conversation. Hope you enjoy it. We'll chat at the other end, and please enjoy my conversation with Dr. Mark Sherwood. G'day, Dr. Mark Sherwood. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing well, man. It's good to be here with you.
Welcome to the Hidden White podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. I've been looking forward to this. I used to live in your country
Yeah,
about 3 decades ago, so it brings back a lot of good memories.
for university or college, right?
I was over there chasing my professional baseball dream. I was one of the first Americans to
Oh,
play Australian professional baseball over there.
wow. There you go.
Yeah, pretty cool.
That's cool. Did you,
Yeah.
what happened? You get into the
You
career
know,
or?
I was rookie of the year over there in
Yeah,
Australia, believe it or
yeah.
not. And then I came back over here to the US and I got signed a couple times and got cut a couple times and I realized I probably need to get another job.
Okay. Is that what you got you into this quest for health and helping others?
Yeah, good question. And I when I came back here, baseball career was over. I decided to, that I wanted to do something, exciting. So I joined a police department and I
Yeah,
became a
huh.
police officer for
Yeah, I did
like two
read
and a
that.
half decades. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so that kind of got me started on the idea of health. But what solidified it, Lee, was the idea. Let my last several years of my career, I was moved to the police academy, and during that time, I was tasked with developing a wellness program for the officers. And I there was one statistic that affected me in a profound way, and it was this: the average male police officer in the U.S. that serves 20 years lives to the average of 66 years of age.
Yeah.
And I found that out in early 2000s, and it hadn't changed in 50 years before that. And I just checked it the other day. It's the same now.
Wow.
And that statistic really got me off into the area of health and what I could do for the first law enforcement protection and service. And that transitioned into naturopathy for the world, really.
That's incredible. 66 years old.
Yeah, it's pretty sad, isn't it?
Wow. I wonder what the stats are
But
like in Australia.
I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out because,
Mm,
the stress, the lack of sleep, multiple medication usage, the poor diets, all of that had an effect. And then I quickly realized that wasn't just affecting first responders, that was affecting everybody. And
yeah.
I began to understand why. Why is this happening? And it kind of broke my heart, to be honest with you, because, I wanted to see less suffering around me, and so that just really got me going out further with this mission that we have, my wife and I, to really, kind of help people live a better life.
Okay, that's Michelle, is it?
Yes.
You co-authored plenty of books together.
Yep. Yeah, she's
Yeah,
my best friend, and I get the chance to work with her, which is really neat.
that's cool. Naturopathy.
Yes,
That's your field of study, so you're a naturopathic doctor.
I am. Yes, sir.
T Explain that for me. What is naturopathy?
So a lot of people understand medical doctors
Yeah.
from this standpoint. You come into the medical doctor and you have symptoms, and
Yeah.
the doctor asks you those symptoms and observes symptoms and asks you a few questions, and then uses that symptomatology to come up with an algorithmic decision to give you a medication, and you leave.
Yeah.
So the whole idea is to prescribe a medication that addresses the symptoms that you feel, so the
Yes.
symptoms go away.
Yeah.
Naturopathy understands that, but we look at the other end of things. Okay, you've got symptoms. Why do you have symptoms? Let's fix the upstream. Let's fix the upstream dysfunction so that the
Mm.
symptoms go away, and therefore diseases and medications become irrelevant or less relevant. And so that's what my wife and I do. She's a conventionally trained medical doctor, and I'm a conventionally trained naturopathic doctor. So we see both sides of that, and it gives people a nice ability to make better choices, I believe, and
Yeah.
they get better. It's very common.
Much needed space, huh?
Yeah, I wish there were more people there, but it's coming. The conversations right now that I hear are more abundant than they've ever been in my lifetime.
Why do you think that is? Is it just simpler to get prescribed a medicine
Yeah,
to heal your pain and then do it again when
I
it comes
think
back?
I think so. I think we've been trained like that. The kind of old adage, a pill for an ill, that
Yeah.
kind of thing,
Mm.
right? And it's almost the same as what's easier, fast food or to cook your own meal?
Yeah.
What's easier, to not go to the gym or to stay home?
Mm.
We've learned as a society, whether it be in Australia or the U.S., just really in the more westernization type of countries, we've learned the easy way is the common way. And I've learned that the easy way and common way is the wrong way, most
Yeah.
times. So
Yeah.
I want to try to give people a more option to, do the hard things for the great results.
Yeah. It's interesting. Because I think if we look back beyond the modern world that we live in today, how we lived our life, yes, maybe we didn't live as long for other diseases and things like that that were unpreventable.
Yes.
But, sometimes now I think there's just this overwhelm of this is what you got to do. These are the diets you got to follow. This is how
Oh,
much you got to exercise. And um, rather than just some of the more simple practices like cooking just, some whole foods at home and which are quite delicious and joyful to do. I find it joyful anyway, not everyone does. But then, exercise routines as well, like how much is too much and what's enough, like just walking every day, things
you
like
know,
that. So yeah, it's
yeah.
interesting sort of conversation because I think it's scary.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I've got to change my diet. Well, what does that mean? I can't just get McDonald's on the way to work now, or how's that going to impact my life? And then we have all the other complexities of life with the overwhelm that we get thrown at us. We're all busy. There's all these big to-do lists, and it just seems never ending. So to find the cheats way is the way we want to go.
Well, and I think too, if you could live your life with the idea of looking back and the things you would have done better or different, I think most people would agree that if you could avoid needless diseases and surgeries and hospital stays, you probably would. But you can't really do that once you're in the middle of it. You have to begin to look forward and say, okay, what can I do to avoid those things in the future?
Mm,
And you're right. It is overwhelming, but we've tried to really, I mean, it's a complicated process, this thing called life. It's all over the place, but ultimately we've tried to simplify it, and we tell people, I don't want you dieting. And I tell people, I don't want you focusing on what you're not supposed to do. I give people a big old list of foods I call the anti-inflammatory food list, and Lee, I tell them, you can have as much of this as you want. Eat as much as you want. If you're not hungry, don't eat. If you're hungry, eat. And that the freedom that they feel with that is kind of unique. And then with exercise, it's interesting you mentioned walking. The first thing I tell people to do is get your tennis shoes on and start walking.
mm,
Just be consistent with that. Because really it's about movement. It's about feeding the body with nutrients because that's what the body runs on. I talk about sleep all the time. It's about getting good rest and making sure you're disconnected. And, when you sleep well, you recover well.
Yeah.
And I tell them to work on managing the stressors of life to, like go to the beach at least once a week, put your feet in the water, feel the sun on your back, get outside in nature. Don't listen to negative social media all the time. Hang out with people that will encourage you. If you
Yeah.
can't find anybody to encourage you, don't hang out with anybody,
Yeah.
So these are basic fundamental things that I think are helpful for people to get started and sort of reframe,
Yeah.
kind of what this is.
What makes it so hard? Like what is
I,
it that stops people? Because I mean, the idea of going to the beach and going for a walk into nature and eating nice foods that are fresh. I mean, it sounds like that's something we want to do, right?
well, I think we all know probably for the most part what to do,
Hmm.
but we fall into habits of not doing it.
Right.
Because let's face it, my country, and I'm not knocking my country, I'm knocking the processes that are sort of encouraged here.
Hmm.
Because the standard American Western diet is terrible. It's
Yeah.
horrible. I mean, this country I live in has got all kinds of resources in abundance, but yet we're down here about number 70 in health and spend more per capita per person than any other country.
Yeah.
I mean, that's terrible
Hmm.
and that's awful and it's embarrassing. And I think probably because most people do something, you become to do something different. It's like you don't fit in anymore.
Hmm.
You fit out, and the last I checked, leaders are the ones that fit out. Followers are the ones that fit in.
Yeah.
And what that means is we need more leaders. We need
Yeah.
more people that are going to look at themselves in the mirror and say, you know what? I'm going to make sure that I take good care of you today. And I'm not going to be led around by situations and people and circumstances that take the life out of me.
Yeah. Is that something you say to yourself daily?
Yeah,
Sounds like
I
it might
really
be.
do. And I've
It's good.
learned
Hmm.
to do that.
Yeah.
I learned that, it's better to stand all alone,
Hmm.
all by yourself, than to stand with the whole group in the wrong.
Yeah.
And I've learned that, the more you stand out there, the more attention you get because people are watching. And it's not about getting attention, but it's about being unafraid to lead the way down a pathway that people want to go.
Hmm.
And when you're out there out front, you might feel lonely sometimes. And my wife and I have because we've been thought leaders in this area for 20 years.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
but we've realized we've got each other. We realize the more we do it, every once in a while, there's someone that comes and says, you know what, I want that. You know what, I want that. And now, looking back at this time and our client base, 25,000 worldwide, I mean, I never think about that until I think about that. And that's been fascinating because it started with very few.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, there's no telling where even today, people listening to this particular broadcast, will be talking to people different parts of the world that I'll never meet,
Hmm.
but they may be influenced, which is great.
Yeah.
They may become that person that says, you know what, I heard something, on this podcast that made me snap and say, I need to be that person to lead the way in my community, in my family, in my world.
Hmm. Yeah. It's inspiring. And just taking people to this for a second, Functional Medical Institute. That's the main website, right?
Yeah, I think another one that's probably better is Sherwood.tv. That one reaches, it's really simple to understand,
Okay.
and that's my wife and I's last name .tv. So that's easy.
Sherwood.tv. I'm typing it in. We'll stick the links in the show notes, of course,
Okay.
for people listening.
Yeah,
But yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. We need more leaders. And
we do.
for for all genres in the world today, people
Well,
doing
and
the right things
you're
for the right
right.
reason.
In all genres, in all positions of leadership, whether it be government or medicine or just business, I mean, how do we get better? Somebody's got to decide we're going to stop doing what we've always done if it's not working.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
somebody's got to decide to try something else. Even if it doesn't work, they tried. And that's how we get better. We try new things.
Yeah.
We try new thoughts.
Talk to me about your journey through that because you said you've been doing this for over 2 decades now. And this is quite, I think you'll have an inspiring message here. Like at the start of that, um, you'd have like, a few followers. How did you get through that process of going, geez, are we doing the right thing? Should we do something else? And
Yeah.
what kept you going through that?
When my wife and I had retired from the police department. And at the same time, probably 2 years prior to that, or a year prior to that, I didn't know my wife. So I was a single guy out here,
Yeah.
and she was a single girl. She had gotten involved in medicine as a top of her medical class, double board certified osteopathic doctor. Got in the system and got fired because too many people were getting too well.
Yeah.
So that sent her into a spiral of depression, of course, which why wouldn't it? And so about that time, we meet. I'm retired, and she had this vision to start a clinic. And so we're there thinking, what are we going to do? We don't have anybody to ask how you do this.
Yeah.
We don't have any staff. We don't know the first thing to do. What are we going to do? And through a series of trial and error and just believing that passion that we had to rewrite the script. It was right to bring people to a place of healing. It was right to bring them to a place of health. A lost patient in the medical system is a win. That's not a gain. That's a
Mm.
win. And it's like, that's a good thing. We should be celebrating that. We should be celebrating that hospitals are searching for clients. We should be happy that the minor care emergency centers don't have a lot of business. We knew that. I
Yeah.
mean, I think most people would agree with that.
Mm. Yeah.
We
100%.
we thought something's wrong with that. So what can we do to teach people how to stay out of that system? And that's kind of how it started. And people got better. And the more one got better, they started telling other people, and it just kind of like, dominoed. And then when COVID came about, quite frankly,
Yeah.
which is back a few years ago, it didn't make any sense to us, quite honestly, because I thought to myself, okay, wait a minute. If I'm just going to die of a virus, my body just must be a pathetic machine of being able to fight anything. And
Yeah.
I wasn't knocking people for vaccines, but I wasn't scared of people either. Like, I'm not afraid to give somebody a hug. It's like something didn't pass the reasonable test with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And a lot of
at
others.
that
Yeah.
time, yeah,
Yeah.
we just kind of decided, we're just going to keep on doing what we're doing and forgive the statement, but it's the truth. We keep on loving people.
Mm.
That's what we're doing. And before we knew it, we had treated thousands of people, thousands, and we were just doing what we thought was right, and nobody died. And that drew attention,
Mm.
whether we wanted it or not. That drew attention, and then the message kind of got out there. It got outside of our state, and it kind of went out there across the United States, and it kind of went, a little bit out of the country. And that's kind of how we kept on going, and we've always came back to our roots, to do the right thing
Yeah.
and as best we can, just to teach people how to live that life so they could have a fullness of life and hopefully have a greater health span.
You believe in something strongly enough and you
Yes,
stay true to your values,
yes.
it will pay off.
Well, and science is not bad. We have to have science. I'm a believer in solid science.
Yeah.
Now, but science, people need to understand that are listening right now, science is not a concrete thing that is immovable. Science is a highly evolving thought. Keeping in
Mm.
mind
Mm.
that science is what you have left over after you poked holes in what you think you know. That's what science is. That's what we think truth is. But thinkers, critical thinkers, scientific thinkers always try to poke holes in why we think we know what we know, which
Yeah.
keeps us moving forward in our thoughts
Yeah.
and our experimentation,
I
our
like that.
hypotheses, and things like
Mm.
that. So I'm a big believer in setting up things like that, but I'm also a believer in common sense.
Yeah.
Basic principles. I mean, it makes sense to eat good foods and go to the beach and all that stuff, and exercise. But who's going to fund a study that's going to compare? Here's a group of people. We're going to exercise you. We're going to eat right, and we're going to go to sleep. And here's a group of people that we're going to keep you up all night, feed you McDonald's, and teach you not to exercise. If you did that, we know which one's going to pay off. But what's going to happen to the fast food industry?
Yeah.
People are
Yeah.
going to they're going to know the truth, and those studies will never happen.
Mm,
So that's a
mm.
scientific experiment that will never happen. Therefore, there is holes in science right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, your work is kind of doing that, really. It's getting a
I
message
think
out there,
so.
not doing
Yeah.
the test exactly, but still getting that message out there. And through your research and through health research generally, we know that anyway. But
Yeah.
what I like about that is common sense isn't always common practice, and I guess that's where it's going to lead me to your field of work. I mean, when someone comes and visits you, where do you start with their journey? Because it's not just about saying, well, look, here's what you're eating, get rid of that, eat this, walk a daily, and see you later. There's a deeper level of emotional baggage, trauma, whatever you want to call it, that we carry that keeps us locked into our common practice, which may not be common sense. And I have those in my life where I just look at myself and I go, okay, I know that's not right, but I'm doing
Yep.
it, and I continue to do some of those things. And it takes a lot of work to unbaggage, unpack that.
It does. And the first thing that I do when I talk to somebody, and my wife the same, is we get to know them personally. What do you like to do? Where are
Mm.
you at? Who are you? Tell me about your family. Tell me about your habits. Tell me about your likes, dislikes. Tell me about your kids, your dogs, your animals, your hobbies. I want to know all about them. And I want to know what's good in their life. First of all, I don't want them to start dumping on me with telling me what's wrong. I want to know what's good.
Yeah,
And
good
sometimes
way to
it's not
start.
much.
Mm.
Sometimes it's kind of discouraging because I'll ask them a question. When's the last time you felt awesome? And many times I get these big tears. They'll say I don't remember.
Mm.
And then I'll ask them, what they think is their biggest holdup or roadblock to doing the things you just talked about. And many times people will tell you. They'll tell you what they think. And many times they say the answer and then they hear the answer and solve the equation themselves.
Yeah,
So I think that probably the initial step for us is learning that anatomically speaking, we have two ears and one mouth. Therefore, we need to listen twice as much as we talk. And by doing that, listening to them tell their story, they feel a sense of trust, which builds trustworthiness, which builds, this idea that this relationship may be safe.
mm.
Then I start digging into, where are they emotionally? Like, are you holding on to unforgiveness in someone? Do I see that? Is there anger there? Are you pissed off at your husband or spouse all the time? Are you mad because you had babies early and didn't get to experience life? I mean, are you mad at your parents who might be dead? There's all kinds of stuff that goes on in a person's life, and you're right, to unpack that is a load, but the more you open up the safety net for them, and because they want to feel better, they wouldn't be seeing us.
Yeah,
So the
yeah,
more you
yeah,
open up the landing space that seems safe for them, it helps them a lot.
yeah, yeah. Because I think it's often that keeps us trapped in those behaviors that aren't serving us in a health perspective.
That's
Um,
right.
can we delve into diet first? Firstly, there's so much stuff out there about diet, what to eat, what not to eat. Um, I mean, I've tried it all over the years. I've done this podcast for, over a decade, and I've done the vegetarian thing, I've done the vegan thing, I've done the paleo thing. I've lived in different countries. I had a very much Japanese diet for most part of my adult years. Um, so I've tried it all, and what I've figured out is that I've adapted what works for me. And I still
There you
don't
go.
always eat the healthiest stuff, I'll be honest. But I also am a passionate foodie, so I cook a lot. And I use a lot of fruit and veg and my own ingredients. I don't use much stuff from packages. But I'll still go out there and eat the burger from time to time and, all that sort of stuff. But I'd prefer to cook from home because it's a joy of mine.
Yeah.
Not everyone's the same that way. Like my ex-partner, she just didn't like cooking, you know? Didn't mean she ate badly or poorly, but she just didn't like that process and she still ate fairly well. So what are the things that we're doing wrong around food and what should we be doing more of?
Well, I think you kind of hit on some very key areas. You got to find what works for you that works for you. Let me rephrase what I said. You got to find what works for you in your lifestyle and what you like. But whatever works for you in your lifestyle and what you like has got to work for you in providing health.
Hmm.
If it doesn't work for you in providing health, you're doing something that works for you that doesn't work for you,
Yeah.
as opposed to something that works for you that does work for you,
Yeah.
right? And so I find that some people like a lot of veggies, some people like a lot of meat, some people don't. And it's okay. I tell people to eat natural foods in their natural packaging as much as naturally possible
Hmm.
and start there. And if you just start there, you're going to do really, really, really well. But again, this is where you have to know the person. Are they do they like to cook? Do they like to cook? Are they busy? Do they typically eat on the run? And you kind of find places where you can interject the answer. For example, you like to cook at home. I would say, Leigh, just natural ingredients, have at it. As long as you can imagine it being from a vine, from the ground, from a tree, walking through the forest, swimming in the ocean, flying overhead, probably you're okay to eat it, just in the natural packaging.
Yeah.
But maybe for your ex-partner, somebody that's on the go like that, they don't like cooking. So I might say, instead of eating the burger out there, why don't you mix a shake or something? Or why don't you have one of these bars that are really good for you? Or why don't you have a bag of nuts or seeds or something like that? So, just shift it where they are, where they can grab something on their own. And I think you got to meet people where they are today.
Hmm.
But the overall theme is more natural foods.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I've found throughout the podcast and people like yourself that I've had on. It all boils
Yep.
back to just, natural packaging foods, whole foods, and the quantities. I mean, the quantities don't matter. I think, it's not about like when you're full and you just stop eating. And sometimes it's really delicious and you go back for more and you go, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And next time it might
Yeah.
be a bit different, but generally it's just nice, fresh, natural foods.
Yeah, you mentioned something there. It's not about calories
Mm.
because we don't live on calories. We live on nutrients. And I think calories are a guide, but that science is a little bit um, incorrect in the sense that we all break down foods differently with our microbiome. The way we digest things is different. So you could eat something, I could eat something, my wife could eat something, and it gives us different levels of calories, even though it might
Yeah.
be the same food. So I take the calorie, kind of theories and put it to the side because it is just a hypothetical unit of energy. And that
Mm.
it can give you some guidance, but it's not a concrete thing anymore because
Yeah.
we know more.
Mm.
Having said that, the stomach is the size of a fist. Now, a heart is the size of two fists. So if you remove one fist from the two fist size heart, that's what you got. That's all your stomach is. And the stomach is made of smooth muscle cells, which means if you eat super, super fast, that will stretch. So that fist size space can become a volleyball pretty quick. And you're like, oh, I ate too much. Which brings me to the principle. It takes about 20 minutes, generally speaking, when that fist size space gets full, for the signal to be sent to the brain to say, I've had enough,
Right.
which tells you I'm full. I don't want it anymore, and appetite goes down. But if we're eating stressed and in a hurry all the time, we can absolutely stretch it out and eat two platefuls in about 20 minutes. It's not
Yeah.
hard.
Oh, that's my biggest problem, eh? Like I
100%.
I eat fast. Mm.
Yeah, so you want to slow down and tip for you is take a drink of water, just a little bit between maybe every 5 bites. And that water will go in there and it will bind some of that food and sort of expand. And it will cause the full filling to happen quicker, and when it happens quicker, you won't overeat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty easy.
I got to practice that. I got to nail
Yeah, it's
that.
it's it's good. You can do it.
Yeah. 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 Um, so what about like you talked about, the bars and shakes and things like that. I'm a little bit skeptical, I suppose. I've been there and tried that as well. Um, but I still see it as something that's in a pack, and often you look at the ingredients list and go, "What the hell's all this stuff?"
Yeah,
Like,
no doubt.
like what? And you're saying that it's something that you'd recommend to someone on the go. What do you look for in those foods, and what's good and what's not?
I look for organic ingredients. I look for real ingredients. It's funny, this is several years ago. I was asked that question because I didn't know what the answer would be. I thought, sounds reasonable. What's it going to be? So I started getting into the product formulation. So I formed this one called Kingdom Fuel, which was organic pea protein. It was organic greens and reds. It had vitamins and minerals and it had fiber, soluble and insoluble. And it made a whole meal out of it. Pretty cool. It was cheap and it was easy. It was $5 or less per serving, and we've made that out there a lot. And we thought, well, let's
That's
make
a
some
that's a product
bars.
of yours, right?
Yes, yes, it's called Kingdom
I
Fuel.
think I saw that somewhere. Yes, gotcha. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and it's a good product. And then we made these little bars called Kingdom Candy, which, believe it or not, they have no sugars in them. They have good medium chain triglycerides or fats and proteins, and say they got vegetables in them and things like that. But they really taste good.
Mm.
And then we progressed one step from there and we made something called Kingdom Crunch, which was cereal. Because, cereal is one of the most toxic, messy, nasty things anybody can eat.
Yeah.
But we decided let's make it one of the best things people could eat. And I believe Kingdom Crunch is the best cereal in the whole entire world that I've seen. And
Yeah.
so we just tried to solve the problem, that people have out there because we are in a hurry, and we get bad habits. So how can you meet people where they are?
What's in Kingdom Crunch?
We've got two flavors, peanut butter and an acai bowl, and it's got some turmeric and kale and some organic proteins, and it's got some fats in there like medium chain triglycerides. It's sweetened with allulose, stevia, and monk fruit. So again, decent ingredients that make a sweetness but not raise blood sugar.
Right. On those the sweeteners there, and I don't know enough, but I hear different things from time to time where it's
Yeah,
just like, no, those substitute sweeteners just aren't good. But what's
yeah.
the science telling us on those?
The science pretty much goes to try to answer the question, does it raise blood sugar?
Right.
Pretty much. And I think my opinion is that blood sugar can be raised not only by what you eat, but by a thought.
Yeah.
For example, stressful thought, you can create cortisol. Cortisol is known as a glucocorticoid, which will raise blood sugar, right? So stress. So I don't think that it's all about just this or that. We do know that things like aspartame and some of these artificial sweeteners have been around for years. Studies do say and do to show that those things are associated with increased cancer risk. So we don't want to have those.
Hmm. Hmm.
We know that refined sugar does raise blood sugar. We all know the epidemic that is the cardiometabolic patterns of our world. A lot of type 2 diabetes is on the rise, like obesity, et cetera, especially in my country.
Yeah.
Um, so we go down the pathway of trying to find something else. Monk fruit, obviously a natural sugar from a fruit kind of plant, appears to not raise blood sugar. Allulose appears to not raise blood sugar. Stevia appears to not raise blood sugar. So these more
And they're all from
natural,
plants.
they're all from plants. Yeah.
What is the
So
monk fruit? I'll look that
yeah,
up.
it's look it up. There you go. So again, monk fruit. Let me just look that up for you real quick. Yeah, it's kind of crazy though that some of these natural sweeteners that we have out here are good for you. You know?
Chinese fruit kind of looks like a
Yeah,
guava or something like that, right? Or
yeah.
a
It's kind of like a
apricot.
guava. That's right.
Hmm. Interesting.
Got no calories, but again, calorie science is gone. But it's like, all right, if that does something that I want to do, maybe it's better than that.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
we'll
yeah.
discover some way it's not as good.
Yeah.
But I know that it does solve a problem now. And then again, this is my question always for anything that I do is, can I do it better?
Hmm.
Is there something I don't know?
Well, the Japanese, they never really had sugar in their diets, but
They don't.
they had a lot of sweets and like they had that rice cake with the red bean and they sweetened it, I think, by some sort of sweet potato
Yep.
or something like that. And it was just like, wow, like, and at first when you're eating it, you're just like, and I hated it when I first lived in Japan. At the end, I was just like, that's the dessert that I want. Like, it was delicious. Um,
Yep.
so it's funny how your taste buds can change too.
Well, and taste buds are not they're not heritable, they're taught.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think, well, I just love that thing. No, you've learned to love it and you
Hmm.
can learn to not like something. And you mentioned Japan, it is one of the most healthy countries in the world right now.
Hmm.
And I think it's because they eat probably more natural food there and they probably don't eat quite as fast. The portions I know are smaller.
Yeah.
And and they get more time exercising on their feet. They walk more. It's different culture.
Yeah, and the education there as well around food. I taught at schools, and the education
Yes.
was amazing. Like, they
Yeah.
bring the kids in, the kids have to serve the food, and they have to talk about the food, and so from a very early age, they're learning. Okay, this is good. This is what's good. This is what's not. And
Yeah.
again, as I, I'd never stop anyone, including myself, from if you want to go out and have a bit of fried chicken or burger, go for it, right? But it's
Go
just
for it. That's right.
most of the times, this is what we should be doing. Not all of the times.
That's what we tell people. I'm not all about taking their choices away. I'm all about enhancing the choices they make and enhancing the knowledge around the choices they make.
Mm.
And people, when people feel better, they want to feel better. When they feel bad, they want to feel better. And the more they know how to experience bad and better, they know the difference and they know it's like I like over here better than over here.
Yeah, 100%. What about supplements? What supplements, I mean, should we be taking or should we be taking them at all if we have a nice balanced diet? And what about things like alcohol, caffeine? Caffeine, big one, right? A lot of people have several cups of coffee a day. I have one, sometimes two.
Yeah, so I'll start with caffeine and work backwards. Caffeine, alcohol, then supplements. So caffeine has been shown in what we know to be scientific literature as mostly beneficial,
Yeah.
as long as it doesn't become the drink of choice.
Yes.
Because if it's a drink of choice, you can get overstimulation, you can get high blood pressure, nervousness, jitters, even loose stools if you get too much of that. And it
Right.
can dry you out. And
Hmm.
it's a diuretic. Additionally, a lot of the coffee we have in my country is moldy. It has a lot of mold in
Right.
it. It has toxins, so we have to watch for that. So
Yeah.
we have went to a mold-free, certified organic coffee bean, and it's called Kingdom Cup with a K. We did that, so I wanted to have something because I like coffee, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you can do coffee as long as it meets a good criteria and as long as it doesn't bleed over into the other areas of context I talked about,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Alcohol, much the same. Alcohol does contain toxins. We need to know that. It also contains sugar alcohols. So it can be a negative in some certain situations. There are people out there, genetically speaking, we run a lot of genetic code on people that metabolize alcohol very quickly. Meaning, if they have a glass of wine, it'll metabolize all the way down the chain to where it gets broken down very quickly out of the system. So
Yeah.
it's gone. So they have not much neurotoxic effects of that.
Gotcha.
But there are people that metabolize it slow, where it hangs around the system longer and they get more neurotoxic effects. Given it that way, there's more opportunity for addictions. With blood sugar issues that people have, if you have alcohol late at night, you're going to drive that sugar alcohol up there. So blood sugar is going to go up, which causes insulin to go up. You feel relaxed, you go to sleep. But what happens is insulin comes up and it drives blood sugar back down in the middle of the night. You wake up in the middle of the night and don't sleep well. Additionally, you end up putting glucose on your system late at night like that. You can end up getting a lot of visceral fat or belly fat around the navel area,
Hmm.
like the old beer belly or alcohol belly, we call it, right? But the good side of alcohol, I guess, is it creates a nice socially relaxing environment that if you have organic wine and you sip on it, it's not a bad thing because it can slow you down through eating process. It can slow down the meal process because you're having something to sip on during the meal. You see,
Yeah.
so it can help you in a lot of ways. Um, so I think alcohol's got some benefits out there, unless it doesn't have benefits.
Yeah.
But to say it's good for everyone, I think that's quite a reach.
Yeah.
Because it's got all those negatives attached to it,
Mm.
regardless of even
Mm.
its benefits. You look at supplements, it is difficult today in our world because of production methods to get nutrients in the system singularly and only from food to the level that we need them. Because the
Right.
soil has not been allowed to rest. So therefore, and you know this from being a cooking person, we don't have, you could get a veg from this field and from this field, and they would have two different nutrient contents because it comes from the dirt, right?
Yeah.
And so that's important to understand. I have come to the conclusion that most people today need vitamin D,
Yep.
and vitamin D is, people say, well, I'm in the sun all the time. Well, the darker your skin is, the more D you need. And I think that most people need probably 5,000 international units of D, which is equivalent to 125 micrograms. I like to put vitamin K2 with it, which helps the calcium, which the D absorbs to go to the right locations. I've come to the conclusion that people need omega-3 fatty acids because we have too many omega-6s, seed oils and stuff in our diets in our world. Not enough omega-3s. So
Mm.
I tell people
Does
to
that
take
balance
about
it
three.
out?
Yes, three
Right.
grams of omega-3 is what you need. 3 grams, period.
Yeah.
And I've watched adults do that. I believe that most times B vitamins, which are depleted today um, by stress and movement anxiety and lack of nutrient supply in the food were needed there, and probably some minerals such as magnesium.
Yeah.
So I think if I had to like label it down to the minimal four, that would be it.
That'd be it. Yeah. And I've heard
Yep.
that time and time again.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. A lot about food there. Let's move on, maybe to wrap this episode up. Exercise. And we talked about this at the start. And I was one of those people, I suppose, where I never really did much exercise, didn't like sports much as a kid. I did some, you know, exercise activities, but wasn't really involved in that much. And then in
Mhm.
my older teen years, early adult years, I decided to get into health and fitness, and I built up. And some more times recently, I was just like, I was trying to exercise 3 times a day, and I was becoming a bit too much, really.
Wow.
Probably
Yeah.
overdoing it, going for a swim, going for a walk, going to the gym, playing tennis, whatever it might be. And I started to realize I'm just like, well, is this actually giving me any extra benefits? And that's when I started to just go, you know what, I'm just going to focus on movement and trying to do
Yep.
an hour of movement a day. That's my goal, and I'll try and mix it up to do some things that I enjoy in that as well. And that's it just works for me right now. Um, what are we doing right around exercise, and what are we doing wrong?
We should be moving every day. We
Hmm.
should find opportunities to move. Movement is the key. Movement is life. Lack of movement is called rigor mortis or death. So we need to move more, sit less. Sitting all day is the new smoking all
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
And we need to really move more. And I like your idea of intentional movement. I'll put this intentional movement and then unintentional but purposeful movement. Intentional movement is exercise, like an hour walking, an hour biking, an hour swimming, whatever you do, if you should do that every day.
Hmm.
But this unintentional intentional movement should be like while you're in the middle of your workday or whatever you're doing.
Yeah,
Find opportunities to stand up, get a stand-up desk, walk around the building, take the stairs, park in the parking lot farther from the front door.
yeah.
Finding places to move, walk on your lunch break, walk a quarter, a couple kilometers or something, whatever. It's something short,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
You can do that. And then I think that needs to happen every day.
Yeah,
Maybe take a little walk after you have a meal. Never a bad idea.
Yeah.
And I think that weight training or some type of resistance training, even if it's body weight,
Yeah.
at least 3 times a week.
Mm.
Because if you work your heart or the cardiovascular system, Lee, that's very good. That's needed. That's for your cardiovascular tone and resilience. And you can work out too hard like that because you don't want to be running around like you're being chased by a lion all the time, right? That doesn't help. That's stress, right? It's too much. But when you train with resistance, you flex the muscles, tense the muscles, you have to move the bones. Muscles pull the bones to move. And when the muscles are loaded with a resistance of some sort, they signal the bones to pull in nutrients. So we're talking about building bones. At the same time, when you load a muscle, you get microscopic tears in that muscle. So the body has to rebuild. But when it rebuilds, it doesn't just rebuild, it compensates for the loss in case you have to face it again. So it compensates and puts on more. It recruits more muscle fibers. So it is a compensatory, increased resistance process that you do, and you could even do that with body weight. And again, how does that help us later in life? It maintains bone integrity,
Yeah.
it maintains the ability to move, and it helps with more movement. So if you can move longer, maintain more muscle, keep the fat off, you're probably going to have a pretty healthy life.
Yeah. And I guess it's looking at the individual again. I get that because I used to
Yep.
love running for a while, and I've stopped it, and I still love it, but I don't think it's right for my joints and my structure. But and maybe that's just a cop out. But looking at things like rowing, getting a rowing machine, or Tai Chi. I see a lot of Tai Chi being talked about
Yeah.
nowadays. There's so many different options out there, but it doesn't really matter which one you pick. But just moving is fundamental.
Agreed. That's the way I look at it too. I find things I like to do and tell people to find what they like to do and do it more.
Yeah, yeah. And experiment with them, right? Like I've just found over the years that I experiment with things and I do it for a while, I change it up, and then I go, oh, that's not really working, and I try something else, which has been great. Finally, I just want to get into what your thoughts are on mindfulness or meditation practices with your patients.
Man, I tell them every day to find times for quiet. One exercise I've done with many, many people, and it doesn't matter what people believe or don't believe, this helps. I tell them to get their watch out, honestly, and I say, all right, wait till that second hand gets to the 12. When it gets to the 12, you're going to be quiet for 60 seconds. You're going to say nothing. You get away by yourself. No kids, no sound, no animals, no dogs, no cats, no birds, nothing. And you be quiet for 60 seconds. I've done that to crowds of the thousands. You can feel the uncomfortableness of that at first, 15, 20, 25 seconds. But then about halfway in, there's a fascinating thing that takes place. It's almost a calm that comes into the person's life because silence is golden.
Hmm.
For the first time, they're able to hear themselves or not. And when you tell them it's time to stop, you can sense that there's an urgency not to. They want more. And so that's a simple little tool that I've used.
Hmm.
1 minute of the 1,440 minutes per day. And it works. Now, I take a little bit farther. In the morning, I get up and I have my quiet time and I spend, 15 minutes just being quiet and meditating and thinking and praying, about life. Just hearing my breath, just calm down and try to breathe and let the cares go away.
Hmm.
Let the weight come off. And it's helpful because it sets the tone for this place of life that not a lot of people are living in today. We need to stay there more often,
Yeah,
but we've
yeah,
forgotten how. We
yeah.
move so fast that we forgot what it's like to move slow. Some people are so stressed out today they can't sit down for even 30 seconds because they get stressed because they're sitting. And so it's a very important part of what I teach people.
Absolutely. We've covered a lot of the bases there, and just on that, I want to ask you, enough. When is enough enough? It's something that I think about more as I age, I think, and maybe a lot of people do. But in all these topics we talked about, we just seem to have this drive to always have more. What are your thoughts on that topic? How do you think about that?
Well, there's something about contentment and gratitude. I think those are at the top of the list, Lee, but I think understand what this more is we're looking for. You know,
Mm.
if you're trying to collect stuff, it's like you're always looking to grab more and pull it to you, right? Now let's think about this physically. If you're trying to grab more and pull it to you, and that's your focus, how can you let go and give more away for everybody else?
Yeah.
Because if you're like this, you can't go like this. So in my life, I have to work at this. I have to learn to have open hands and give. And if I'm a giver, I won't be without. So more becomes less of a thing and it gets transferred as to more than enough. See, it's a shift. And I think as I've gotten older, I like nice things, but I also understand the principles if I can give a lot of things away, I'm never going to be without things to give.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a nice way to finish it.
Yep.
Been legendary. Thank you for coming on the show. Plenty of books out there for Dr. Mark Sherwood and Michelle as well. You've got a couple of websites there. So the best one I think you just gave me was that for Sherwood.tv.
Yes.
I'll put both links in there anyway. So at
Okay.
thehiddenwhy.com, guys listening, check it out. The show notes there will have the links to a few of the books and Dr. Mark Sherwood as well. Mate, thank you for coming on the show.
Man, thanks for having me. That was a blast, man. Good conversation.
It was a good conversation. I really enjoyed it, and I think we've inspired many too, so that's a good thing.
It's good.
All right, guys, check it out, thehiddenwhy.com. Until next time, peace, passion, and purpose. Speak soon. All right, there you have it. My interview with Dr. Mark Sherwood. Let me know what you think. Jump on to thehiddenwhy.com. You can leave your comments there and reach out to Dr. Mark and Michelle as well. We've got their website links in the show notes at thehiddenwhy.com. So make sure you connect. Have a look in the work. Fantastic stuff. They're doing great things around the globe. And I think this is a really important conversation that we should be having daily with ourselves, with our families, with our friends. And I think the profound thing that really stood out to me is how we can actually lead this movement and change, not in our own lives, but in those lives of the people around us as well. I think it's really important if we want to live a life with greater meaning, live a life more fully, live a life with more joy. And that's what it's all about here at the Hidden Why podcast. Guys, if you're on that path, you're not sure quite how to connect the dots, reach out to myself. You can connect through the social platforms, Instagram, Facebook, at the website, thehiddenwhy.com. Set up a time, let's have a chat, 15-minute consultation for free, and we'll see what we can do to help you. Guys, thank you again for tuning in, and until next time, peace, passion, and purpose.